And welcome to section 2.1, the real number line. Our goals for you today is I can graph and compare real numbers using a number line. Also, number 2, find the opposite and the absolute value of a number. The numbers used in this class are real numbers. So anything you see in this class will be real numbers. They can be pictured as points on a horizontal line called a real number line. The point labeled 0 is the origin. Points to the left of the 0 represent negative numbers. And points to the right of the 0 represent positive numbers. We have to remember that 0 is neither positive nor negative. Example number 1. Graph the numbers 1/2 and negative 2.3 on a number line. Now, oftentimes it's best if you want to change it to a decimal form. 1/2 is easy because it's 0.5, and negative 2.3 is already as a decimal. So if I do this, I know that 0.5, since it's positive, will be to the right of 0, since it's a positive number. Now, halfway between 0 and 1 should be 0.5. And we want to label it as 0.5. Or, even better, we want to label it as what it's given to us as 1/2, since it's a 1/2. Next, I want to take negative 2.3, negative 2.3. A lot of people think, oh, it should go right here. Well, remember, since it's bigger, it's less than negative 2, it's between negative 2 and negative 3. So it's going to go, if you imagine this is halfway, 2.3 is going to be somewhere in between there. So we're going to say 2.3 is right there. And of course, we're going to label it as negative 2.3. All right, go ahead and try to do practice, and then if you need to, check with Mr. Wachowski for the correct answer. Example number 2. Write the following numbers in increasing order. Now, the reason why I have a number line is because oftentimes it's useful if we go ahead and we plot these points first. So if I do this, it's not necessary, but I think it's useful to do. So if I do it, I know negative 2 is here. So I'm going to go ahead and mark negative 2. If I plot 4, I know 4 is there. We have 0. 1.5 is right there. 1/2 is right here. And negative 3/2, which is also equivalent to negative 1 and 1/2 as a mixed number. So negative 1 and 1/2 is right here, and we want to label it as negative 3/2. So now that we can see it on a number line, it's pretty easy to say which number is the smallest and which number is the largest. So we want to write it in increasing order, so from smallest to largest. So we're going to say negative 2, negative 3/2, 0, 1/2, 1.5, and 4. Awesome. Go ahead and try the U practice, and we're going to continue on to the notes. 2 points that are the same distance from the origin but on opposite side of the origin are opposites. In regard to opposites, we also have this thing called absolute value. So the absolute value of a real number is the distance between the origin and the number representing the real number. The symbol, so anytime I have absolute value, we like to use these really tall lines, vertical lines, and we want to put what we're trying to find the absolute value of. So in this case, the symbol like that represents the absolute value of the number A. So in example 3, what is the opposite of 1/2? So to find the opposite of a number, what we need to do is all we need to do. If it's positive, we're going to make it negative. If it's negative, we're going to make it positive. So the opposite of 1/2 is -1/2. Next, we're going to evaluate the expression using absolute value. Now, absolute value is always going to be whatever's inside of these vertical lines is always going to be positive. So if it's already positive, it stays positive. If it's negative, it's going to turn positive. So the opposite of -1.6 is going to be 1.6. Notice I don't write my answer with the absolute value signs because I took the absolute value sign and that's what made it positive. Now in this one, it can be kind of tricky because a lot of people think that it's going to be +3, but it's in fact -3. The reason why it's -3 is because inside the absolute value sign is 3. Outside of the absolute value sign is a negative. So that's a -3. And we can actually use some mental math to solve a little bit more difficult problems. So in this case, we want to know what can be in this absolute value sign. Well, I know that the absolute value of 7 is 7, but you have to also remember that you can also have -7 equals 7. Therefore, the value in this case, x is equal to both +7 and -7. Because remember, the absolute value is always going to be positive. So if we look at the second one, the absolute value of x equals -5. Well, if I try 5, the absolute value of 5 is 5. The absolute value of -5 is also 5. There's no way to get a negative with just this right here. So in this case, we would say no solution.